The Imperial Arena of the Empire was the largest building in the known galaxy. It could hold 5 million beings from 100 different worlds. Today, every seat was full. The air smelled of perfume, alien food, and excitement. Great banners of purple and gold hung from the ceiling. They showed the symbol of the Empire, a three-headed serpent eating a star. Princess sat in the royal box, high above the arena floor. She was young, only 23 years old by Earth counting. Her skin was pale blue, like the morning sky of her home world. Her eyes were large and silver, and they sparkled with cruel amusement. Long white hair fell down her back like a waterfall of snow. She wore a dress made of living light that changed colors with her mood. Right now it was bright pink, the color of mockery and culture. Around her sat the noble families of the Empire. They were all beautiful in their alien way, all very rich, and all very bored. They came to the arena to see blood and to feel powerful. They came to watch lesser beings fight and die for their entertainment. Mother said, turning to the Empress beside her, "Why must we watch this? Humans are so boring, they break so easily." Empress did not answer. She was older than her daughter, though she did not look it. The aged slowly, had ruled for 200 years, and she would rule for 200 more. Her face was calm, like still water. Her dress was dark blue, almost black, the color of deep thought. She watched the arena floor with eyes that had seen many things. "The human ambassador requested this," finally said. "Earth wishes to show us something. We will watch." Made a sound of disgust. "Earth, that little world. They have only had space travel for 300 years. We have had it for 10,000. What can they possibly show us?" The nobles around her laughed. They agreed with the princess. Humans were new to the galaxy. They were small, weak, and short-lived. A human was lucky to see 100 years. A could see 1,000. What were humans compared to them? Nothing. Insects, pets at best. A great horn sounded across the arena. The crowd grew quiet. On the arena floor, a door opened. Sand covered the ground, golden and soft. It was good for fighting. It soaked up blood well. From the door walked a single human. He was not impressive to look at. He was average height for a human, shorter than most. His hair was black and cut short, practical for a fighter. His face was plain, with a strong jaw and calm eyes. He looked to be about 30 years old, though with humans it was hard to tell. He wore simple armor, dark gray metal that covered his chest and shoulders. A sword hung at his side in a plain black case. But his skin told a story. Scars covered every visible part of him. Some were thin lines made by blades. Some were thick and rough, made by fire or acid. One scar ran from his left eye down to his jaw. Another wrapped around his neck like a collar. These were not decorations. These were the marks of a life spent fighting. His name was Wu. He was Earth's champion. The crowd began to laugh. It started small, just a few nobles in the lower seats. Then it spread like fire. Soon, the entire arena was filled with the sound of mockery. 5 million beings laughing at one human. This voice was loud with disbelief. "This is their champion, a ugly little creature." She turned to her companions, her silver eyes bright with cruel joy. "Look at him. He looks like something a street animal dragged from the waste bins." The nobles laughed harder. One of them, a young lord named Ho, raised his voice. "Perhaps Earth sent him to clean the arena. He certainly looks like a servant." More laughter, more mockery. Wu stood alone in the center of the arena. 5 million voices washed over him like a wave, but he did not react. His face remained calm. His body remained still. He simply stood there, waiting, as if the laughter was just wind. In the royal box, Empress noticed this. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Most beings would show some reaction to such mockery. Fear, anger, shame. But this human showed nothing. He stood like a statue, like a stone, like something that had seen too much to be touched by such small things. Interesting, she thought. Did not notice. She was too busy enjoying herself. "Mother, let me send my pet to play with him. It will be funny." She meant her beast, a creature she had bought from the fighting pits 2 years ago. It was 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin like stone. It had killed 100 opponents in the arena. It was her favorite toy. Considered this. It was not part of the plan. The human ambassador had asked for a formal demonstration, not a death match. But her daughter's request was not unreasonable. If Earth wanted to show off their champion, let him prove himself first. "Very well," said, "release it." Clapped her hands with delight. She pressed a button on her chair. Below, another door opened on the arena floor. The beast came out. It was massive. Its gray skin looked like mountain rock. Its 4 arms ended in claws as long as swords. Its head was flat and wide, with no eyes. It hunted by smell and sound. When it roared, the sound shook the arena. Sand flew up around its feet as it moved. The crowd cheered. Now this was entertainment. The beast saw the human. It smelled him. It remembered its training. Kill anything in the arena, kill and eat. It charged. Wu did not move. The beast ran across the sand, each step shaking the ground. Its 4 arms reached out, ready to tear, to break, to destroy. The distance between them closed fast. 100 meters, 50, 20, 10. Leaned forward in her seat, her eyes wide with excitement. "Watch him run," she said. "Watch him scream. This is my favorite part." But Wu did not run. He did not scream. He simply stood there, his hand resting lightly on the handle of his sword. His eyes watched the beast come closer. His breathing remained slow and steady. 5 meters. 3 meters. 1 meter. The beast's claws came down, fast enough to split steel, strong enough to break stone. And then Wu moved. It was not fast, it was not slow, it was something else. Something that had no name in any language the knew. One moment he was standing still. The next moment he was somewhere else. The beast's claws hit empty sand. The crowd went silent. In the royal box, smile froze on her face. What? Wu stood behind the beast now, his sword still in its case. He had not drawn it. He had simply moved. The beast turned, confused. It swung again, and again Wu was not there. For 5 long seconds this continued. The beast attacked with all 4 arms, with all its speed, with all its strength. And each time, Wu simply was not where the attack landed. He moved like water. He moved like shadow. He moved like something that was not quite real. Empress rose slowly from her seat. Her face was pale. Her hands gripped the arms of her throne. She knew those movements. She had seen them before, 20 years ago, in a war that had nearly destroyed her empire. "Go steps. Stop this," she whispered. "Stop this now." But it was too late. Wu's hand touched his sword. There was a soft sound, like a whisper, like a secret, and then the beast fell. It did not fall in one piece. Silence filled the arena. Complete, total silence. 5 million beings, all holding their breath. Princess stared at the arena floor, her silver eyes wide with shock. Her beast, her unbeatable champion, lay dead in the sand. And the human stood over it, his sword already back in its case, his face still calm, still showing nothing. "Who?" whispered. "Who is that?" Empress did not answer. She was looking at the human with new eyes, eyes filled with something her daughter had never seen on her mother's face before. Fear. The silence lasted for 10 heartbeats. Then the whispers began. In the seats of the arena, 5 million beings turned to each other. What had they just seen? How had the human moved like that? How had he killed a beast with one strike? Questions filled the air like smoke. Princess stood frozen in the royal box. Her dress had changed colors without her control. It was now pale white, the color of shock in culture. Her silver eyes stayed fixed on the arena floor, on the body of her beast, on the human standing calmly beside it. "That was my best fighter," she said. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "That beast killed 100 warriors, 100 and he just. She could not finish the sentence. She did not have the words. Behind her, the nobles had stopped laughing. They looked at each other with uncertain eyes. This was not what they expected. This was not entertaining anymore. This was something else. Something that made their blood feel cold. Lord Ho, who had joked about the human being a servant, stepped forward. His face was red with embarrassment. He had been made to look foolish, and nobles did not like to look foolish. "This proves nothing," he said loudly. "The beast was old, it was slow, anyone could have beaten it." He turned to the other nobles, looking for support. "Let me send a real warrior down there. Let me send one of my own fighters. Then we will see what this human can really do." Some of the nobles nodded. Yes, they thought that made sense. The beast was just an animal. A trained warrior would be different. A trained warrior would win. Turned to look at Ho. Her eyes were still wide, but now there was something new in them. Hope. Yes, she thought, Ho was right. The beast was nothing special. His warriors would show this human his true place. "Do it," she said. "Send your best." Ho smiled. He pressed a button on his communicator. "Release my champion," he ordered. Another door opened on the arena floor. A warrior walked out. This was not like the beast. This was something far more dangerous. He was tall, over 2 meters, with muscles like steel cables under his blue skin. He wore armor made of black metal, and in his hands he carried 2 curved swords. His name was Ho Jin, and he had won 200 matches in the arena. He was the best fighter that money could buy. Ho Jin looked at the human. He looked at the dead beast. He smiled, showing teeth that were white and sharp. "Small thing," Ho Jin said. His voice was deep and slow. "You got lucky with the animal, you will not get lucky with me." Wu did not respond. He simply turned to face the new opponent. His hand stayed away from his sword. He was not even standing in a fighting position. He looked relaxed, almost bored. This made Ho Jin angry. He was a champion. He deserved respect. He deserved fear. But this human looked at him like he was nothing, like he was just another obstacle to walk around. "I will make you scream," Ho Jin said. "I will cut you slowly. I will make you beg." Still, Wu said nothing. Ho Jin attacked. He was fast, very fast. His 2 swords moved like silver lightning. They came at Wu from both sides at once, impossible to block, impossible to avoid. This was Ho Jin's special technique. It had killed 200 opponents. It would kill this human too. But Wu was not where the sword struck. He had moved again, that strange movement that seemed to break the rules of space and time. One moment he was between the swords. The next moment he was behind Ho Jin, standing quietly, his arms crossed over his chest. Ho Jin spun around, his face twisted with confusion and anger. He attacked again, and again, and again. His swords cut through the air with deadly speed. Each strike was perfect. Each strike would have killed any normal opponent. None of them touched Wu. In the royal box, Empress watched with growing horror. She remembered now. She remembered everything. 20 years ago, during the Great War, her fleet had attacked a small human colony world. It should have been an easy victory. The humans had no military ships, no defense systems, nothing but farmers and fishermen. But there had been one man. One man who had walked through her invasion force like they were made of paper. One man who had destroyed 50 warships with nothing but a sword in his body. One man who had moved like this, like a ghost, like a spirit of death that could not be touched. The war had ended that day. They had retreated. They had never attacked human space again. She had thought that man was dead. She had hoped he was dead. But now, watching the arena, she knew the truth. "He is alive," she whispered to herself. "After all these years, he is still alive." Down in the arena, Ho Jin was getting tired. His attacks were slower now, less precise. Sweat covered his blue skin. His breathing was hard and fast, but Wu looked exactly the same as when the fight started. He was not tired. He was not even breathing hard. "What are you?" Ho Jin gasped. What are you? For the first time, Wu spoke. His voice was quiet, calm, almost gentle. I am just a human, he said. Then he moved. It was not like before. Before he had been playing. Now he was serious. His hand touched his sword. There was a flash of silver light, and Ho Jin fell to the ground, his two swords broken, a thin line of blood appearing across his chest. The wound was not deep. It would not kill, but it proved something important. It proved that Wu could have killed Ho Jin at any time. He had chosen not to. He had chosen to show mercy. This scared the crowd more than if he had killed the warrior. Princess jumped to her feet. Her face was twisted with rage and fear. This was not possible. This was not fair. Humans were weak. Humans were nothing. How was this one man making fools of them all? More, she screamed. Send more, send everyone. The nobles looked at each other. No one wanted to send their fighters now. No one wanted to lose. But was the princess? Her word was law, second only to the empress. One by one, doors opened around the arena. Warriors came out. 5, then 10, then 20. They were the best fighters from the best noble houses. They had 1,000s of matches between them. They carried swords, spears, axes, and weapons that had no names in human languages. 25 warriors against one human. The crowd leaned forward. Surely this would be different. Surely 25 trained killers could defeat one man, no matter how fast he was. Wu looked at the warriors surrounding him. For the first time, something like a smile appeared on his face. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had seen this before, many times. Come, he said simply. They came. What happened next would be talked about for generations. The 25 warriors attacked from all sides at once. They worked together like a machine, covering each other, leaving no openings. Their weapons filled the air with deadly metal. And Wu danced. There was no other word for it. He moved between the attacks like water flowing between rocks. He bent and turned and stepped and spun, always just ahead of the blades, always just out of reach. His sword flashed in his hand, touching one warrior after another, leaving thin lines of blood but never killing, never doing more damage than needed. 30 seconds. That was how long it took. 30 seconds and 25 of the best warriors lay on the ground, wounded but alive, their weapons broken or knocked from their hands. Wu stood among them, his sword catching the light. There was not a single mark on him, not a scratch, not a bruise. His plain gray armor was clean, as if he had been walking in a garden, not fighting for his life. The arena was silent again. Even the whispers had stopped. 5 million beings stared at the human with new understanding. This was not a man. This was something more. Something that their weapons could not touch. Something that their warriors could not defeat. In the royal box fell back into her seat. Her dress was now dark gray, the color of fear. Her hands were shaking. Her silver eyes were wet with tears she would not allow to fall. Mother, she said, her voice barely a whisper, what is he? What have the humans sent us? Empress did not answer her daughter. She was looking at Wu with eyes that held a 20-year-old memory. She remembered a battlefield covered in bodies. She remembered watching her best generals fall one by one. She remembered the feeling of absolute helplessness as one human destroyed everything she had sent against him. She had been young then, just crowned empress. She had thought the universe belonged to the. She had thought humans were beneath her notice. That man had taught her differently. And now he was here in her arena, showing her daughter the same lesson. His name, finally said, her voice flat and cold, is Park Wu. 20 years ago, he ended our war against Earth. He killed 50,000 of our soldiers in one night. He destroyed half our fleet with his bare hands. We call him the Ghost of Blood. The humans call him something else. Looked at her mother with wide eyes. What do they call him? Stood slowly. Her dress had changed to pure black, the color of mourning, the color of respect. They call him the Sword Saint, she said. And you, my foolish daughter, just mocked him in front of the entire empire. She began to walk toward the stairs that led down to the arena floor. Behind her, her guards moved to follow. "Mother, where are you going?" asked, her voice rising with panic. "Did not look back. To fix your mistake," she said, "before he decides to finish what he started 20 years ago." And the Empress of the walked down to meet the human who had once brought her empire to its knees. The arena was so quiet that you could hear sand moving in the wind. 5 million beings watched as Empress walked down the long stairs from the royal box to the arena floor. Her guards walked behind her, but they looked nervous. Their hands kept moving toward their weapons and then pulling away, like they could not decide if they should be ready to fight or ready to run. Stayed in her seat, her body frozen. She could not move, she could not think. Her mother's words kept playing in her head like a broken recording. 50,000 soldiers, half the fleet, the ghost of blood, the sword saint. She had grown up hearing stories about the Great War. Everyone in the empire had. But the stories never said anything about one human causing all that damage. The stories said the humans had used special weapons. The stories said they had gotten lucky. The stories said they had chosen to retreat because the war was not worth fighting. The stories were lies. Now understood. Now she knew why her mother had never attacked human space again. Now she knew why the Empire, the mightiest force in the galaxy, had signed a peace treaty with a species that had only discovered space travel 300 years ago. They were afraid. On the arena floor, Empress reached the bottom of the stairs. A gate opened for her, and she stepped out onto the sand. Her black dress dragged slightly on the ground, leaving a trail like the tail of a shadow. Wu watched her come. His sword was back in its case. His arms hung loosely at his sides. He did not bow. He did not kneel. He simply stood there, looking at the most powerful being in the empire as if she was just another person. Stopped 10 steps away from him, close enough to talk, far enough to give him space. She knew better than to make this man feel threatened. "Park Wu," she said. Her voice was clear and carried across the silent arena. "I remember you." "I remember you too, Empress," Wu replied. His voice was just as clear but softer. "You were younger then. You cried when you signed the treaty." A small sound went through the crowd. The Empress, crying. This was news, this was scandal. Rulers did not cry. Rulers were made of ice and steel. But did not deny it. She simply nodded, her face calm. "I cried because I lost everything that day, my pride, my ambition, my belief that my people were better than all others." She paused. "You taught me a valuable lesson." "And yet your daughter did not learn it," Wu said. The words were simple, but they cut like a knife. Up in the royal box felt her face burn with shame. Everyone was watching her now. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The princess was foolish. The princess had insulted someone she should not have insulted. The princess had almost started another war. Turned slightly, looking up at her daughter. Then she looked back at Wu. "My daughter is young. She has lived in peace all her life. She does not know what war looks like. She does not know what you can do." "Then perhaps she should learn," Wu said. There was no anger in his voice, just statement of fact. Felt a chill run through her body. "What do you want, Sword Saint? Why did Earth send you here? Surely not just to humiliate us in our own arena." Wu was quiet for a moment. He looked around at the arena, at the fallen warriors on the sand, at the millions of beings watching from above. Then he looked back at. 30 years ago," he said, "I was a farmer. I grew rice on a small piece of land that my family had owned for 10 generations. I had a wife. I had a son. I was happy." Listened. She had never heard this story. No one had ever heard this story. In all the years since the war, no one had ever learned where the ghost of blood came from. "Then your ships came," Wu continued. "Your invasion force, they destroyed my village. They killed everyone I loved, my wife, my son, my parents, my friends, everyone." His voice did not change. It stayed calm, steady like water in a deep well. I was away from home that day, selling rice in another town. When I came back, there was nothing left but ashes and bodies. The arena was completely silent. Even the wind had stopped. So I trained, Wu said. I trained for 5 years. I learned everything about fighting that could be learned. I pushed my body past its limits. I did things that doctors said were impossible, and when I was ready, I went to war. He looked at with eyes that held no hate, no anger, just a deep, endless sadness. I did not fight for Earth. I did not fight for revenge. I fought because I had nothing left to live for, and dying in battle seemed better than living with my memories. Felt something strange in her chest, something that might have been guilt. Her ships had destroyed that village. Her orders had killed this man's family. She had created the ghost of blood with her own hands. But I did not die, Wu said. No matter how hard I tried, I could not die. Your soldiers could not kill me. Your weapons could not touch me. And so I kept fighting, and more of your people died until finally you asked for peace. He took a step closer, too. The guards behind her tensed, but she held up her hand to stop them. After the war, I wanted to disappear, Wu said. I wanted to find a quiet place and wait for death to finally take me, but Earth would not let me go. They needed me. They needed the symbol of me. They needed the galaxy to know that humans had a protector. So you became their weapon, said softly. Wu shook his head. No, I became their shield. I travel from world to world, showing myself, reminding other species that humans are not weak. I do not kill unless I must. I do not destroy unless there is no other choice. I protect. He gestured at the warriors lying on the sand around them. These fighters will live. They will recover. I could have killed them all in seconds, but I chose not to. I chose mercy. Why? Asked. After what my people did to you, why would you show us mercy? Wu looked at her for a long moment. Then, for the first time since entering the arena, his face showed something like emotion. A small, sad smile. Because hate is exhausting, he said. Because revenge is empty. Because I have killed enough to last 1,000 lifetimes, and their blood did not bring my family back. It did not make me happy. It did not fill the hole in my heart. He looked up at the royal box, at sitting frozen in her seat. Your daughter mocked me. She laughed at my scars. She called me ugly and small. But I have been called worse things. I have been hated by millions. One foolish princess cannot hurt me, not anymore. Felt her eyes grow wet. She blinked quickly, fighting back tears. She was the empress. She could not cry in front of her people. Not again. Then what do you want? She asked again. What does Earth want from us? Wu reached into his armor. Slowly, carefully, so the guards would not think he was reaching for a weapon. He pulled out a small box made of dark wood. He held it out too. Earth wants peace, he said. Real peace. Not just an absence of war, but true friendship between our peoples. We want trade. We want exchange of knowledge. We want our children to grow up in a galaxy wherein humans work together instead of fearing each other. Looked at the box. What is this? A gift, Wu said. From the human people to the Empire, open it. Slowly took the box. Her hands were shaking slightly, though she tried to hide it. She opened the lid. Inside was a seed. A small brown seed, no bigger than her fingernail. That is a rice seed, Wu said. From my family's land, the last one that exists. I have kept it for 30 years, waiting for the right moment to plant it. Looked up at him, confused. I do not understand. Wu smiled again, that sad, gentle smile. When my family died, I thought everything good was destroyed forever. But life continues. Seeds grow. New things are born. Even after the worst destruction, there is always a chance for something new to begin. He gestured at the seed. Plant this on your home world. Let it grow. Let it be the symbol of a new beginning between our peoples. Let it remind you that humans do not want war. We want to grow things. We want to build things. We want to live in peace. Looked at the seed for a long time. The arena was silent, waiting. 5 million beings held their breath. Then slowly the Empress of the closed the box. She held it against her chest, over her heart, and when she looked up at Wu, there were tears running down her blue cheeks. "I will plant it myself," she whispered. "In my private garden, I will care for it with my own hands." Wu nodded. "Thank you, Empress." Wiped her tears with one hand, still holding the box with the other. Then she turned to look up at the royal box, at her daughter still sitting frozen in her seat. She called out, her voice echoing across the arena, "Come down here, now." And for the first time in her life, Princess heard something in her mother's voice that she had never heard before. Command. Did not move at first. She sat in her seat, her body feeling like it was made of stone. Her mother's voice echoed in her ears, but her legs would not obey. Her mind kept showing her pictures of what she had just seen. The beast falling. The warriors defeated. One human standing alone against the entire might of the nobility. And winning. "Princess," one of her attendants whispered beside her, "the Empress is waiting." Turned her head slowly. The nobles around her were watching. Their faces showed many things. Some showed fear, some showed curiosity, and some showed something worse, satisfaction. They were happy to see the proud princess brought low. They were enjoying her shame. She forced herself to stand. Her legs felt weak, like she had been sick for many days. Her dress was still dark gray, the color of fear, and she could not make it change. She had lost control of it, just like she had lost control of everything else today. Step by step, she walked toward the stairs. The guards moved aside to let her pass. They did not meet her eyes. No one met her eyes. She was the princess, second most powerful person in the empire, but right now she felt like the lowest servant. The stairs seemed to go on forever. With each step down, she felt herself falling. Not falling from the royal box, but falling from everything she had believed about herself. She was special. She was superior. She was better than other beings simply because she was born a princess. But the human in the arena did not care about her birth. He did not care about her title. He did not care about her wealth or her power or her beauty. To him, she was just a foolish girl who had laughed at the wrong person. She reached the bottom of the stairs. The gate opened and she stepped out onto the sand. The ground was soft under her feet. She could see marks where the fighting had happened, footprints, drag marks, drops of blood. The warriors had been carried away while she was walking down, but the evidence of their defeat remained. Wu stood next to her mother. He looked even more ordinary up close. Just an average human with plain features and too many scars. If she had seen him on the street, she would not have looked twice. She would have walked past him like he was invisible. But now she knew what lived behind that plain face. She knew what those calm eyes had seen. She knew what those hands had done. Empress watched her daughter approach. Her face was stern, but her eyes held something else. Disappointment, perhaps, or maybe pity. She said when the princess was close enough, "Do you know what you have done today?" Swallowed hard, her throat felt dry. I insulted our guest." "You did more than that," said. Her voice was cold, each word falling like a stone. "You insulted the man who holds the future of our empire in his hands. You laughed at someone who could destroy us all. You nearly started a war that we could not win." Felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked hard, trying to hold them back. She was a princess. She could not cry in public. "Mother, I did not know." "That is the problem," interrupted. "You did not know because you never tried to learn. You lived in your palace, surrounded by servants who told you how wonderful you were. You never questioned. You never studied. You never looked beyond your own pleasure." She stepped closer to her daughter, her black dress sweeping the sand. "Do you know what the humans say about us? They say they have forgotten how to be humble. They say we are so proud that we cannot see anything beyond our own reflection. They say we are a dying empire, too arrogant to notice that the universe has moved past us." His face burned with shame. "That is not true." "Is it not?" asked. She turned to look at Wu. "Tell her, Sword Saint, Tell my daughter what the galaxy thinks of us." Wu was quiet for a moment. He looked at with those calm eyes, and she felt like he could see everything about her, every selfish thought, every cruel word, every time she had looked down on others because they were not. "The galaxy thinks many things," he finally said. "Some species hate you because of old wars. Some fear you because of your power. Some respect you because of your achievements. But yes, many believe that the empire is weakening, that your golden age has passed, that your pride will be your end." The words hurt more than any weapon could have. Felt something crack inside her chest. All her life, she had been told that they were the greatest civilization in the galaxy, the oldest, the strongest, and now a human was telling her that the galaxy saw them as old and dying. "But that is not true for everyone," Wu continued. "Some humans believe that they can change, that your empire can grow and adapt, that there is still greatness in you, waiting to be found." He looked at with an expression that was not angry or mocking. It was almost kind. "When I look at you, Princess, I see someone who has never been challenged, someone who has never failed, someone who has never had to struggle for anything." Opened her mouth to argue, but Wu held up a hand. "That is not your fault," he said. "You were born into wealth and power. You were given everything you wanted. How could you understand what it means to fight for survival? How could you know what it feels like to lose everything?" He touched his scars, the marks that covered his skin. "These are not things to mock. These are lessons. Every scar taught me something. Every wound made me stronger. Every time I fell, I learned how to stand back up." Stared at him. She had never thought about scars that way. To her, they had always been ugly things, signs of weakness or failure. But the way Wu talked about them made them sound like medals, like honors earned through suffering. "The strongest beings I have ever met," Wu said, "are not the ones who were born powerful. They are the ones who had nothing and built themselves from nothing. They are the ones who faced impossible challenges and refused to give up." He stepped closer too. She wanted to step back, but she forced herself to stay still. "You could be strong," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "You have potential inside you, but you have to choose to find it. You have to choose to struggle. You have to choose to be more than what you were born to be." Felt tears running down her cheeks. She did not try to stop them anymore. Let the 5 million beings in the arena see her cry. Let them see that the princess was not made of ice and steel. Let them see that she could feel shame and regret and the desire to be better. "I am sorry," she whispered. Her voice was broken, barely a sound. "I am sorry for what I said. I am sorry for laughing at you. I did not understand." Wu nodded. "I know. That is why I did not hurt your warriors. That is why I showed mercy, because ignorance can be cured but cruelty cannot." He looked at Empress. "Your daughter is young. She has time to learn. She has time to change. The question is whether she will choose to." Looked at her daughter, at the tears on her blue cheeks, at the fear and shame, and something new in her silver eyes. Something that might have been the beginning of growth. She said, "You heard the Sword Saint. He has shown you mercy that you did not deserve. What will you do with it?" Looked at Wu, this human who had lost everything. This man who had become the most feared warrior in the galaxy. This person who had every reason to hate but chose kindness instead. "I will learn," she said. Her voice was small, but it was steady. "I will study. I will train. I will try to understand other species, other cultures, other ways of thinking." She took a deep breath. "And I will never again judge someone by their appearance. I will never again assume that I am better than others just because of where I was born." Wu smiled. It was a real smile this time, not the sad one he had shown before. "Those are good promises. See that you keep them." Put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "You will have help. I will assign teachers to you. You will learn about Earth, about humans, about everything outside the palace walls. Your education begins today." Nodded. She felt strange, different, Like something old inside her had died and something new was being born. It was frightening, but it was also somehow exciting. "There is one more thing," said. She turned to face the arena, raising her voice so all could hear. "Park Wu, the Sword Saint, has shown great honor today. He could have killed our warriors, but he chose mercy. He could have demanded punishment for the insults he received, but he chose forgiveness." Her voice echoed across the silent arena. "Such honor deserves recognition, and such insults deserve apology." She looked at. Her eyes were hard, but there was love behind them. The love of a mother who wanted her child to grow. She said, "Kneel before the Sword Saint. Apologize properly. Show him and the entire galaxy that they know how to admit their mistakes." Felt her heart stop. Kneel, in front of 5 million beings, in front of the entire empire. No royal had ever knelt before a member of another species. It was unthinkable. It was against every tradition. But she looked at Wu, at his face and calm eyes, and she understood. This was not about tradition. This was about becoming someone better, someone worthy of the position she would one day hold. Slowly, Princess lowered herself to her knees. The sand was warm beneath her. The dress she wore pooled around her like a puddle of gray light. She looked up at the human who had taught her more in one day than she had learned in 23 years. And she began to speak. The sand was warm under her knees. She could feel every grain pressing into her skin through the thin fabric of her dress. Above her, the sky of the arena dome stretched like a false heaven, filled with the faces of 5 million beings who were watching her humble herself. She had never knelt before anyone except her mother. Even then, it was only in private, only as a sign of respect between family. This was different. This was public. This was permanent. Every being in the galaxy would see this moment. They would record it, share it, discuss it for generations. The princess of the empire, kneeling before a human, took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking, so she pressed them against her thighs to steady them. She looked up at Wu, at his face and patient eyes, and she found the words. "Park Wu," she said. Her voice came out clear, stronger than she expected. "I was wrong." The arena was so quiet that she could hear her own heartbeat. "I looked at you and saw only the outside. I saw a small creature with marks on his skin. I saw something I did not understand, and instead of trying to learn, I chose to mock. I chose the easy path of cruelty." She swallowed hard. The next words were harder to say. "I did not know about your pain. I did not know about your loss. I did not know that my people destroyed your family, your home, your life." Her voice cracked slightly. "If I had known, I would like to say I would have acted differently, but I am not sure that is true. I was raised to see others as lesser. I was taught that to stand above all." She shook her head slowly. "That was wrong. We are not above anyone, we are just different, and different does not mean better." Wu listened in silence. His face showed no reaction, but his eyes were focused on her, taking in every word. "You showed me something today," continued. "You showed me that true strength is not about power or birth or title. True strength is about what you do when you have nothing left. True strength is about choosing mercy when you could choose revenge. True strength is about building something new when everything you loved has been destroyed." A tear fell from her silver eye, landing on the sand like a tiny star. "I am not strong," she admitted. "I have never been tested. I have never suffered. I do not know if I could survive what you have survived, but I want to try. I want to become someone worthy of the respect you have earned." She lowered her head, her white hair falling around her face like a curtain. "I apologize, Sword Saint. Not just for my words today, but for all the cruelty of my people, for the war, for the death, for the pain we caused you and so many others. I cannot undo what was done, but I can promise to do better. I can promise to be better." She stayed kneeling, her head bowed, waiting. The arena held its breath. Wu was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly, he stepped forward. He stopped in front of, close enough that she could see his worn boots in her vision. "Princess," he said softly. She looked up. Wu reached down and offered her his hand, not to shake, to help her stand. "That was a good apology," he said. "It was honest, it was humble, and it took courage to say those words in front of so many people." Stared at his hand. It was rough and the hand of a farmer turned warrior, the hand that had ended thousands of lives, the hand that had chosen to spare thousands more. She took it. His grip was firm but gentle as he helped her to her feet. When she was standing again, he did not immediately let go. Instead, he held her hand for a moment longer, looking into her eyes. "I forgive you," he said, "not because you are a princess, not because your mother is the empress. I forgive you because you have the capacity to change. I saw it in your eyes when you were kneeling. You meant what you said." He released her hand. "But forgiveness is just the beginning. Now comes the hard part. Now you must prove that your words were not empty." Nodded, "I understand." "Do you?" Wu asked. "Change is not easy. It hurts. It takes time. There will be moments when you want to return to your old ways, when it feels easier to look down on others than to see them as equals. Those are the moments that will define who you really are." He turned to look at the arena, at the millions of watching eyes. "The galaxy is watching you, princess. They will remember this day. They will judge you by what you do next." Followed his gaze. The faces in the crowd were a mixture of shock, curiosity, and something else. Some of them looked moved. Some looked like they were seeing her for the first time. "Let them watch," she said quietly. "Let them see that they can change." Empress stepped forward, placing herself between her daughter and Wu. Her face was calm, but there was a light in her eyes that had not been there before. "Sword Saint," she said formally, "on behalf of the Empire I accept your gift of peace. We will plant your seed, we will nurture it, and when it grows, we will remember what it represents." She turned to face the arena, raising her voice so all could hear. "Today marks a new chapter in the history of our empire. Today, we acknowledge that we were wrong about the humans. They are not lesser beings. They are not insects. They are partners in this vast galaxy, worthy of respect and friendship." The crowd stirred. Whispers spread like ripples in water. Some beings nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. But no one argued. No one dared to contradict the Empress. "The war with Earth has been over for 20 years, continued. But peace is not just the absence of fighting. Peace is understanding. Peace is respect. Peace is the willingness to learn from each other and grow together." She looked at Wu. "The Sword Saint has offered us this peace, and we accept it. From this day forward, the Empire and the human race will work together as equals, as friends." Wu bowed his head slightly in acknowledgement. It was not a deep bow, not a sign of submission, just a nod of respect between equals. "Thank you, Empress," he said. "Earth will be pleased." Smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it was real. "I suspect Earth already knew how this would end. They would not have sent you otherwise." Wu's lips twitched. Perhaps, or perhaps they just wanted to make sure the arena put on a good show. A sound came from the crowd. It took a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. Not mocking laughter like before. This was different. This was the laughter of relief, the laughter of tension breaking, the laughter of millions of beings who had been terrified moments ago and were now realizing that everything was going to be okay. The laughter spread. Soon, the entire arena was filled with it. Even some of the nobles were smiling, though they tried to hide it. Found herself laughing too. It bubbled up from somewhere deep inside her, somewhere she had not known existed. It was strange. She had just been humiliated in front of the entire galaxy. She should be angry or ashamed. But instead she felt light, free, like a weight she had not known she was carrying had finally been lifted. She looked at Wu. He was watching the crowd with something like wonder on his face. "This is not what I expected," he admitted quietly. "What did you expect?" asked. He shook his head slowly. I expected hate, fear, maybe violence. I did not expect laughter. Neither did I, said. Perhaps we all needed this. Perhaps we all needed to be reminded that we are not so different after all. Wu looked at her. For a long moment he studied her face, as if seeing her for the first time. You might be right, princess, he said. You might just be right. The laughter faded eventually, replaced by applause. 5 million beings clapping their hands or claws or tentacles or whatever they had in celebration of something new, something hopeful. Empress waited for the applause to die down. Then she spoke again. There will be a feast tonight, in honor of our new friendship with Earth. All are welcome. She looked at Wu, especially our honored guest. Wu hesitated. I am not much for feasts. Please, said. The word surprised her. She had never asked anyone for anything, but this felt right. Let us show you proper hospitality. Let us prove that we can be good hosts as well as good warriors. Wu looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. Very well, he said. But I warn you, I have no idea how to dance. Laughed again. It came easier this time. Then I will teach you. Consider it the first lesson of our new friendship. And in the imperial arena of the empire, surrounded by the sand where warriors had fallen and mercy had been shown, the princess and the sword saint walked side by side toward a future that neither of them could have imagined. The seed of rice would be planted the next morning. Empress would tend it herself, as she promised. And over the years that followed, it would grow into something beautiful, just like the friendship between two peoples who had once been enemies. But that is a story for another time. For now, it was enough to know that change was possible, that forgiveness was possible, that even the proudest empire and the simplest farmer could find common ground. And somewhere, far across the stars, on a little blue planet called Earth, people smiled when they heard the news. They had sent their best. And he had done what he always did. He had turned enemies into friends,